Meet the top 17 edge rushers in the 2025 NFL Draft. Number 17. Jordan Burch, Oregon. Jordan Burch is a massive rusher who is very athletic. Some things to like about Burch is his strength and his ability to help out in the run game. However, I think Burch needs help as an overall pass rusher. Burch has upside, but going straight into the league, it's going to take him time to get up toward his full potential. I think Burch, if on the right team, he could possibly be very good. However, I think more than likely his potential is a solid number 2 edge rusher in the NFL. I have Burch as a late 3rd to early 4th round pick. Teams I could see taking him is the Ravens, who could take a shot on a developmental piece to help bolster the run defense even more. The Lions, who could let Burch sit behind and learn from Hutchinson, and then let Burch and Hutchinson loose, making for a very scary edge duo. And the Dallas Cowboys, who could bring Burch in to replace what they had in DeMarcus Lawrence. Number 16. Kyle Kennard, South Carolina. Kyle Kennard is pretty similar to Burch. However, I think Kennard will have a slightly higher floor and ceiling in the NFL. I think he'll be a more balanced edge rusher. However, he does need to work on his technique in the pass rush game. I have a mid-3rd round grade on Kyle Kennard, but I could very well see him going slightly earlier or even slightly later. Some teams I think could take a shot on Kennard is the Carolina Panthers, who at this point in the draft, you take a player who is already a hometown guy and could raise the floor of a pretty bad edge group in Carolina, while also giving potential to be a good number 2 edge in the future. The Broncos could look to take Kennard as well. While the Broncos had a pretty good defense statistically, I think Kennard could end up being that missing piece the Broncos need to make that defense even more completed. And the Los Angeles Rams, who have a lot of young talent. However, Kyle Kennard could give them a true edge rusher and make them an even more complete edge room as well. Number 14B. Oluwafemi Oladejo, UCLA. Oladejo is another similar player to Kennard, but with an even higher floor. Oladejo is going to be even more ready as a day 1 guy, as he has much better technique and is just more NFL ready than the first 2 guys. I currently have a mid-3rd grade on Oladejo, but that's the lowest I could see a guy like him going. He's a guy who is developmental, but maybe not as developmental as the first 2 guys on the list. I could see him going to a team like the Patriots, where he could get some early snaps, as he's a player that could help the Patriots out next year. The Bengals, as they need someone to come in and replace the edge production that they lost during free agency. And the Chargers, while Oladejo would more than likely get less snaps, he may be able to develop better there under older, more accomplished edge rushers. Number 14A. Braden Swinson, LSU. Swinson is right there neck and neck with Oladejo. However, I do think I slightly prefer Swinson, as he played for the better team and is a very strong rusher. However, I would like to see more finesse in Swinson's game, as right now, it feels like the majority of the time, it is all power and strength for Swinson. I would like to see him be more balanced as an overall edge rusher. Teams that could take Swinson are teams that just need some help and upside in the edge room, like the Patriots, Bengals, and Saints, but also a team like the Cowboys, where yet again Swinson could be the perfect replacement for DeMarcus Lawrence. Number 13. Donovan Ezeruaku, Boston College. While Donovan being this low on the list may be a bit of surprise for most people, seeing lots of people have him as a 1st to 2nd rounder. However, I just don't see the 1st round upside in his game and don't think he's balanced enough to be a 2nd round player, which is why I think Donovan fits perfectly into the early 3rd round. He's a guy who is a much better pass rusher than other 3rd round players. However, I don't see any upside with Donovan in the run game. He's a very undersized player, which can scare a lot of teams away from him. I think he clearly has a lot of talent, but he also has a lot of limitations. Teams that could take him are teams that need help in the pass rush game, like the Patriots, Falcons, and Titans. Number 12. Josiah Stewart, Michigan. Stewart is another player very similar to Donovan Ezeruaku, as a very undersized player who doesn't have much upside in the run game. However, Stewart is one of the more athletic players in this class and is a very good pass rusher with very nice technique, and is even a lot stronger than his size may tell you. I don't think Stewart has quite the upside that Donovan Ezeruaku has, but he is a very high floor player, which is why I can see him going to teams like the Patriots, Titans, and the Lions. Teams that need edge rushers to raise the floor of their D-lines. Number 11. Princely Umanmielen, Ole Miss. Now we get into the second-round players who have some really high upside. Starting with Princely, he's a guy who has dominated in the SEC and is another one of the most gifted players in the class. However, he's going to be similar to Josiah Stewart year one in the NFL, as I don't think either of them are very great run defenders right now. However, Princely is a freak athlete, and there's no way I can see Princely falling into the third round. Princely also doesn't have the size to worry about, which automatically gives him more upside in the run game. Princely is a player that can end up being a top 10 to 15 edge rusher in the NFL if he goes to the right team. Now, the top 10, starting with number 10. Jack Sawyer, Ohio State. Sawyer was a fan favorite at Ohio State, and I think he could be a pretty good player in the NFL as well. However, Sawyer is another player who I think is going to take a year or two before he can truly be a difference maker. I think best case scenario, he goes to a team that could develop him. I think Sawyer could be a lower end number 1 edge in the NFL, but I think he would be best as a top tier number 2, where him and another great number 1 edge take pressure off of each other. Because if Sawyer is the lone guy a team will have to stop, I think it will be pretty easy to stop him, as I don't think he's a guy who can just dominate on his own like a Hutchinson, Garrett, or a Watt. Number 9. JT Tuimoloau, Ohio State. JT is a very, very talented player, and he's a guy who jumps off the tape. His lows are low, but his highs are very high, and I think JT is a lottery ticket type of player. He seems to be very well-rounded, and I think he can even be a year 1 starter on the right team. JT is first-round talent. He just needs to unlock it in the NFL. Number 8. Nick Scorton, Texas A&M. Scorton is another very big edge rusher with tons of talent. He's the first player so far that I think has a chance to slide into the first round. Scorton is very good in the run game, however, I think his game needs some polishing if he wants to reach his full potential. Scorton can very easily be a tier 1 edge rusher and a difference maker in the NFL. I do think Scorton is best as a run defender, as he's very powerful and big for an edge rusher. I could see him go to teams who are willing to take a chance on a very good edge rusher, but I could also see him going to the Browns early in the second round. I think Scorton would be an amazing player on the other side of the line from Garrett, and I think would complement perfectly with Garrett on that D-line, making it one of the scariest in the league. Number 7. Landon Jackson, Arkansas. Jackson is my most underrated player in this edge class. He's another guy who jumps off the tape and looks to be a big-time game changer. Jackson is massive and extremely athletic. However, the thing that I noticed I liked the most about his game was his very, very long arms. He seems to bully offensive linemen because once he strikes, it's impossible to get your hands on him. His long arms are one of the things that make him so good in the run game, as he can very easily shed blocks or reach out of blocks to make a tackle. He's very strong and fast, and while he still can work on polishing up his game as a pass rusher, I think he's easily a first-round talent who I could see being one of the best players in this class. One thing he needs to improve it, though, is his tackling, as he missed a lot of easy big play tackles behind the sticks. However, the right coach should be able to clean that up easily. When watching him, he reminded me a lot of Joey Bosa, which is why I could see him going to the Bills to complement Bosa and even learn from him, but I could also see him go to Bosa's former team in the Chargers, who now need to replace Bosa. The Lions and Chiefs could also be great destinations for Landon Jackson. Number 6. Michael Williams, Georgia. Williams is one of the highest upside edge rushers in this class. However, I think there's a lot that Williams needs to clean up in the NFL. Most importantly is pass rushing, as he actually seemed to be a pretty good run stopper. He seems to be pretty underdeveloped, and I think he's a very similar prospect to his former teammate Trayvon Walker. While maybe not as talented as Trayvon was, Williams is up there. I think Williams needs to go to a team that could develop him, but where he can also get some early playing time. Williams is the biggest boom or bust player in the first round of this draft. Number 5. Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M. Stewart is by far the most athletic player in this edge class, as he is 6 feet 6 inches, 290 pounds, yet runs a 4.59 40-yard dash. If Stewart ends up on the right team, he could cause havoc on NFL offenses. However, he is another underdeveloped player. But Stewart has all of the skills to be dominant and get taken in the first round, and he's a guy who, off his traits alone, he could go top 10. My favorite fit for Stewart is the Falcons, as he would fit in well there and probably be the number 1 guy immediately. Number 4. Mike Green, Marshall. Mike Green is the definition of balanced, and he is easily the highest floor player in the class. Green is the most NFL ready and will have some of the best technique year one. Green is a very good pass rusher and utilizes many different moves and counter moves. While I don't think Green has the highest upside in this class, he could easily be a top 10 edge rusher in the NFL. Another thing that holds NFL teams back from drafting him is off-the-field issues, as he had a few issues at his other schools, which is the reason why he is now at Marshall. Take away those off-the-field issues, and I think Green could go top 10. This would be best-case scenario for the Falcons if he falls to their pick, because he's exactly what they need, being a high-floor, high-ceiling player. Number 3. Jalen Walker, Georgia. Jalen Walker is a very intriguing player, as he is a little undersized for the edge position, and he's a guy who can also play outside linebacker at the next level. Walker is very athletic and a great pass rusher. He's also very good in the run game. Walker is a player who is going to be hard to predict, and we don't really know how he will end up in the NFL, as he can play a couple different positions and fit into a lot of different schemes. I think Walker's best fit would be the Panthers, as they can utilize him as just a playmaker, put him all around the line of scrimmage, and see what works. Number 2. James Pierce Jr., Tennessee. Pierce is one of the best players in this class and is very, very talented. Pierce is great in the run game. In the pass game, however, I think he could work a bit on his technique and utilize a more wide variety of pass rush moves. Pierce has the upside to be a top-tier edge rusher in the entire NFL. While Pierce is another player to apparently have character concerns, it was in high school stuff where some people who went to school with him said he was kind of a problem in the locker room. Since then, he has seemingly been better, but that's something to keep in mind that could scare teams away. His perfect fit, in my opinion, is the Saints, as he could learn while getting playing time and eventually take over and be a game changer for the Saints D-line. Number 1. Abdul Carter, Penn State. Carter is easily the best edge in the class and top 3 player overall. Carter is one of the best pass rushers I've ever seen, as his athleticism, get off, and bend are second to none. Carter's speed in the pass rush game is insane most of the time. He has taken 4 steps before the offensive line takes 1. Carter isn't the greatest run stopper ever, however, he isn't going to be a liability in the run game either. In my opinion, Carter can go anywhere and be great, but I would love to see him go to a team like the Browns, as him and Garrett would be one of the scariest edge duos of all time. Well, anyways, that is it for this video, and I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe. It will be greatly appreciated. Next video, I may drop my top wide receivers or maybe even running backs. So thanks for watching.